Love the sound of a crackling fire, Kyle.
Man,
Love it.
Nothing
Love
like
it.
sitting around a fire, Steve. The ice cold winter consumes us.
Mm-hmm.
Depression abounds.
Yeah.
As the holiday season comes to an end.
Time to curl up in a cocoon for the winter, for the long winter's nap.
Start looking at a calendar, thinking, how long away is Memorial Day again?
Yeah, it's the long march till summer, and it starts right now with the Steve and Kyle 2019 year in review. 2 episodes this year, folks. 2 episodes.
The
looking
ultimate
back,
megacast.
Yeah, looking back on our fondest memories from the year that was 2019. We're going to do it in chronological order, too, just as if you were reliving the year right here, right in your ears.
Somehow, some way, there was simply too much funny for one episode to contain, Steve.
More than likely, it was too much laziness on the parts of one Steve and Kyle to strategically edit clips into shorter segments, but we digress.
Listen, I don't know if you know this, but this podcast is known to meander. So you're liable to hear some segments here today and later this week in the second part of this Year in Review megacast that mentions something that probably happened earlier in that episode that you're going to have to scratch your head about. Just roll with it, or press the fast forward button once, 30 seconds, come back. I'm sure we'll be talking about something different.
Yeah, we reset every 30 seconds. So, 2019 started off a little rough, health-wise for me especially. I came down with an old man ailment that you, strangely enough, had also come down with in years past.
Yeah, and in our never-ending quest to somehow make money, we hatched a new plan.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
What are you thinking?
Little spin-off podcast?
Ooh. Yeah. The Shingle Jingle?
Where each week we just perform jingles about shingles.
Duh.
See, I was thinking of maybe doing a play on words, like shingles, like the other meaning, like the roof. Nailing the shingles.
Yeah. How many listeners does a shingles chat get?
Well, it depends. Are we talking roof or the
our
debilitating illness?
Yeah, the horrifically unpleasant and uncomfortable disease.
I bet if we recorded 1 2-hour episode where we had doctors on discussing shingles,
right,
it would get millions of downloads. Because what's the first thing you do when you're diagnosed with something? You go on the internet and you Google it. If we did our SEO right, we had some search engine optimization. People search shingles, or like shingles relief, shingles medicine, shingles cures.
Right.
Our podcast shows up, we'd be millionaires. I think we need to record the shingle jingle.
You think what puts us over the edge? 30 months of negative dollars. But what puts us over the edge is a side cast about shingles and young men and young adults.
1 season, 1 episode, $1 million.
Okay, there you have it. The newest addition to the Lispin Network. It's the Living in Style podcast network. Mm-hmm. Is
what was
the
that?
Shingles Jingle? Oh, it's my stomach. I didn't eat breakfast.
God, that needs to go in. That's in.
I think I stepped on it. But I'll try
it doesn't matter. It was clear as day. Good God.
Oh my God! I got all these timestamps. I don't know what any of them are for.
All right, so.
But I mean, so for you, so me at that time, I was out in public, Steve. So I was in grocery stores doing labor.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked the doctor, obviously this is uncomfortable, but what does that mean for work? And he asked me what I did, and I explained to him. I said, well, if you came into contact with pregnant women or children, it could be very, very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I said, well, here's what I do, and I can't control who's in a grocery store, and I can't control who is near me or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then you can't go to work for like a week.
Yeah.
You obviously not the same for you, but did you get any other warnings? Like, hey,
he did, yeah, because the first thing he said is, okay, are you married? Yeah. Is your wife pregnant? No. Okay. Well, he basically said to me, He said, because I asked him, I was like, is it contagious? And he said it is, but it's typically only contagious if people come in direct contact with it.
Right. Okay.
Which is what he told me. So he just recommended, he's like, look, I know it sucks, but, for the next week or so, try not to have a lot of direct contact with your wife or your people you work with, or
Sure.
Sleep with a shirt on.
Right.
He's like, even if you sleep with the shirt off, they're not going to jump off of you. It's not like the little shingles critters are gonna run across the bed and attach themselves to your wife.
Yeah, it's not cooties.
No, but so yeah, Annette has kept her distance from me for a while, but at this point,
no problem for her. I'm
yeah,
certain.
no, it's yeah, really
more than okay with that decision.
Essentially, life has been exactly the same. Yeah,
except for the discomfort.
Yeah,
along your side.
Yeah, my wife is grossed out by me and keeps her distance. Oh, okay, it's Tuesday. No different than
the day of the week here. Just
yeah, exactly.
Standard protocol in the Steve and Annette house.
So back to the newest addition to the Steve and Kyle podcast, Living in Style podcast
the
network.
The Lispin.
The Shingles Jingle.
The Shingles Jingle.
So your wife works in the medical field.
Yes.
No doubt friends with many, many doctors and nurses and medical professionals. So she can be our guest booker, right?
Oh, sure.
She can get us some...
Get some people who know what they're talking about with shingles. You and I just sit back and nod our heads and go, yeah, but what does it itch?
Do you think they'll come here to the studio to record?
Oh, certainly.
You think they'll wear their white coats?
Well, we're going to make them.
Okay.
A bunch of clicky pens in their pocket.
Yeah. Maybe
disapproving.
Wear the glasses on the end of their nose.
Just like either
we need a chart. Can you bring a chart?
That's what I mean. Either a clipboard or like a manila folder with some papers in it where he just looks at it and we try to read his facial expression if it's good or bad or indifferent.
Yeah, because I think that probably would be a violation of HIPAA laws if he brought in actual charts.
Yeah, not a person's.
Look at this loser.
Yeah.
Look at all the problems he has.
Boy, you're not going to believe the maladies this moron had.
All right. Look for it where you download podcasts in the next couple weeks. The Shingles Jingles. Shingles Jingles.
Do you think, with all of our side casts and ideas we've had, Steve...
Wait a minute. I just thought of a new title for it. It's just called So You've Got Shingles. Now What?
Ooh. It's almost like not a warning, but it's like somebody who's searching, like, how do I deal with shingles? Yeah. We use the words you were using to get up on the Google results.
That's SEO.
SEO, everybody knows that. Search engine optimization.
Let's just call the podcast what you would Google, what I Googled. Like, what do you do if you have shingles? Yeah. That's the name of the podcast.
Ooh. Oh, hey, this is a quick listen. It says there's a doctor on there. Mm-hmm. And it's you and I just saying, yeah, it's really bad. Yeah. What'd you do?
Calamine lotion. What about you?
Water. And itching.
I put a rag on it. I was actually really good. I barely itched at all.
Oh, good.
I mean, I wanted to, but, yeah, just the cold compress, which was really stupid because I had it basically all around me from my chest back to my back.
Right.
So I wanted to put a cold compress on it. So I took a cold wet washcloth.
Right.
Laid it down on a bed, laid on it. Annette put another one on my back, and then we just wrapped me like mummy style with an ace bandage. Didn't really work that well, but...
Well, and as everybody knows, shingles only appears on one half of your body.
I did not know that until they told me.
Really?
Like, what the... He said, yeah, it's going to go from your chest to your spine. Like, it's going to wrap around, and it's going to be 4 or 5 inches wide.
Isn't that crazy?
What the hell is this mutant disease?
Absolutely insane to think about, but... you and I, we're survivors.
We are. What color is our ribbon?
It's like brown being used.
Or it's like a blotchy red.
Yeah.
Like how... I don't know if colors can look irritated, but if we can find like an irritated red blotchy color ribbon.
I think that makes the most sense, obviously, for what we're describing. But yeah, Steve and I are just two guys running the podcast, just a couple survivors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to the support groups, shingle support. It's tough, But hey, what do I do? What do I do, Kyle? Get up every day, kick my feet out of that bed, and I go on.
I think we could make the circuit. You think you and I could, be those people that kids are forced to file into their gymnasium for twice a year, sit there, and it's always some guy who, did prison time or whatever, and he tells them about how you shouldn't bully or something stupid.
Yeah, Scared Straight type program.
Yeah, but less aggressive. And then he hawks a book at the end where it's like, oh, you can... This is my self-bound book called Reaching for the Stars. Pick it up after the assembly.
Reaching for... Yeah.
Scratching
the scabs. That's our book.
But we
gotta write a book. So we have to write a book, too?
Well, if we want to sell some merch on the road...
Oh, we have merch now.
Well, we got to... I mean, so how else...
The shirt's just going to have, like, irritated blotchy marks on it.
Yeah, and then hashtag Survivor.
Okay, and then our intro song when we come out, like our hype video, is going to be I'm a Survivor.
Yeah, or just any song by Survivor.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop.
I think you and I hit the circuit. And I think...
we hit the shingles circuit.
We hit the shingles circuit because, I'm pretty confident in saying we're the first ones on it. So we're making the circuit. I think we could go to some retirement communities and preach about the trials and tribulations of shingles and how to be aware. And maybe we could even get that drug company who hawks the overly expensive vaccine to sponsor us, because that's what we're shilling. Hey, you're looking at two strapping young men.
Yeah, we have to do it. Like, one of us has to be kind of like the straight man, and then the other one has to be like the reformed convict, but still talks like he's in prison. Like, hey,
Ernie, eyes up! Important conversation.
I'm talking about my time with the Scratchies. You're over there drooling in your pudding.
Bingo's tomorrow. You all know this. But yeah, whatever company that's charging, an absurd amount for those for that vaccine, they pay us a few bucks, send us out to these communities. You and I say, now you bet. Now I know what you're thinking. These two young men could never have shingles, and then you and I just hold two photos that aren't of us because we didn't take pictures of it, just from Google. They're not going to know.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we make one like a black man.
Or we do we do it like they do in those hair restoration commercials where it's like, here's the before, here's the after, and it's obviously not the same person.
Yeah, but I want it to be like an African American male.
Mine will be a woman.
Yeah, and yours is a woman with like a bra. Like you can see the bottom of a bra or whatever. And
I lost a lot of weight since then. Since my time with the Scratchies.
We go on and we tell them about our experience and how wise it would be in their old age to get this vaccine that Medicare and Medicaid or whatever old people use will absolutely cover.
Yeah.
If they just go to their local medical consultant. Oh, and look right here. It's this other pretty young lady who works for Big Drug RX.
Steve Kyle Corp.
Here to sign you up.
Oh, do you think we can make our own? Like, can we make a generic and then undercut the...
Whoa. Come on. Whoa. Us hitting the shingles circuit is one thing, Steve, but don't be unrealistic. Okay? You're sounding stupid.
So we can't make our own drugs?
We can try. You got you throw some Windex in a capsule or
bleach.
Essentially distributing meth now. That's where we're at.
Sell it from an RV.
We're accidentally selling pill capsule pipe bombs now. Apparently,
look, a lot of details have to be worked out, but I think it could work.
Maybe we do an AMA, Steve. You and me. Hashtag survivors. We both had shingles before.
You know something? I bet we'd get a lot of questions.
Oh, we'd get questions. There's no question.
Well, you were right. There was no question. We didn't get one of them. No one cared that I had shingles.
It turns out our listener demo in the standard shingles market, which is typically 65 plus, is non-existent.
Yeah.
And the quest continues, Steve, to make a single dollar off of this podcast.
I think at some point in there we referenced we were going to do a song called like the Shingles Jingle Or maybe that was the name of the podcast.
Yeah, and
we were gonna modernize Shingles.
Listen,
we're gonna make it cool again.
We have fantastic ideas, and we never do anything with them. You just wait. It'll be an infomercial, Steve.
Make Shingles great again.
Make Shingles great again. Well, you know, it is the 2019 year in review, Steve, as we sit here by the fire. But not, you know, this podcast is known for its long-running themes. And boy, did I have a whopper for you this year.
This was 4 years in the making, right? 4 calendar years in the making? Maybe 3?
Well,
so you probably started in 17, 18?
I think it was, yeah. I think we unveiled this thing in early to mid-19, so yeah, that should be, it's probably 2 years taking into account if we missed any episodes. But yeah, this was something I had planned a long time ago, and I was finally able to unleash the revelation on you this year. I need to tell you something that I have been waiting. This isn't even on the list. I have been waiting 100 weeks to tell you something.
That's just shy, a whisker shy of 2 years. So something that has been on your mind for since what, like February, the end of February of 2017?
Something I've been doing for 100 weeks.
And did you just decide this is the 100th week? I'm going to reveal it?
I didn't just decide it. I knew this was the 100th week, and I knew I was going to... Now, this is very...
Is this going to be like a montage of stupid things?
No, it's no audio. It's nothing. This is something that I have been doing totally under the radar, and I think
involving this podcast?
Yeah, and I think you've noticed, but it's never really struck you that it's happened every week for, as of today, 100 weeks.
I've been that obtuse.
It's hard for me to even say that because it's not something you notice. I'll say this. It's something you see me do, see me every week with this. Do you have any ideas on what it could possibly be related to?
Something I see you with every week.
Yeah.
You bring a cup with you every week?
I don't even have that this week.
Okay, streak broken.
Uh-huh.
You wear a hat every week?
Uh-uh.
Is it your shirt? Have you worn the same shirt every week?
Steve, for 100 weeks.
Have you worn that shirt?
I have worn, not this shirt, I have 4 shirts with this exact same design. It is... And I thought
incredible.
I thought last week. I thought for sure you're going to notice it because you mentioned it. So I
know. See, I see you. Like obviously, I know that you're a huge fan of comics, superheroes, and things like that. So I know that you have a lot of those shirts.
Yep.
But yeah, maybe do you only have 4 of them, and this is the only time you wear them?
Yep.
Are you serious?
100 weeks.
Oh, please tell me you have a video that you took of
no.
you, like, week 1. Let's see if Idiot notices.
I wish I did. All I took this last night and laid out all 4 of those shirts that I have, that I wear on an exact rotation every 4 weeks to this podcast. And it is, I'll post this picture.
It is unbelievable.
If you're wondering what it is, wonder no longer. The pictures on our social media, Twitter.
It's a Calvin and Hobbes knockoff.
Yeah.
So that one is Freddy.
This is Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
And Jason Voorhees.
Okay.
Horror icons as Calvin and Hobbes. And in case you're wondering what it is, wonder no longer. Go to steveandkyle.com/merch because it is our newest design. Yeah. Colorized and drawn by the wonderful Philip in our Redbubble store. Again, that's steveandkyle.com/merch. I will be buying that.
steveandkyle.com/store also works.
Oh,
too.
Perfect. I will be adding that one to the collection any day now, Steve.
That's incredible.
100 weeks.
My God.
I thought for sure.
I can't believe that. Like I said, I know that you have a lot of shirts like that.
Yeah.
But I would have never realized that it was the same 4 every week.
But I think you would have noticed. Well, one, if it was the same one every week, you would have noticed. And I think
I don't know.
I even think if it was the same 2, I think where you're, and it's not, but where it's okay that obviously you didn't notice is that 4 is like it's once a month.
Even if I had noticed, I don't think I would have said anything because I would have just assumed like, oh, it's Sunday. Sunday, it's laundry day. Maybe that's like the go-to shirt when everything else is in the laundry. That's incredible. So did you start this 100 weeks ago? Did you start it with the intention of doing that?
Yeah. There's only 2 other people that know. My wife, Katie, and my good friend, Chris, who I kept in the loop.
Okay.
And I told him, and I said, I don't know if I'll ever tell him.
So would you send him a text every Sunday afternoon and be like, yeah, idiot didn't notice again?
No, because at that point, that's 100 times. And if you don't notice at 20, if you don't notice at 40, what's going to change at 60 or 80?
So at what point did you say, I'm holding out to 100 and then I can't go any longer?
I got to like 75. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got past 50 because I almost thought about just saying it at a year. At 52, I said, I'll just do it for 52. Then we just cruised past 52. We got past like 60, and I said, maybe I'll go to 100 if he doesn't notice. And at that point, again, we've talked about this. We don't even know if this podcast is going to go 100. That's why we don't really number them or say, hey, welcome to Steve and Kyle Podcast, episode 1, blah, 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 because we don't know.
We're somewhere around 130 something now,
yeah.
I think. I put it in the description just because I have to put something in that field.
Yeah, that's the subtitle. This is episode 132 this week.
This is like a couple of years ago there was I think it was like a guy from the Australian Today Show.
Yeah.
That did that same thing. He wore the same suit and shirt on camera every day for a year and no one noticed it. And it was to prove a point about how in the media how different genders are critiqued, are analyzed, and it was no one said a thing about what he wore, but his co-host, who was a female, every day they'd show tweets of like, what is she wearing that for? Look at that. She looks terrible. She looks fat.
Okay.
That doesn't look good on her. That color's awful for her.
Making that social stance or how it's different for women. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So this is much dumber.
Yeah. No social stance at all for you.
Thanks for noticing. Jerk.
I think it just shows that I focus on the content of your character instead of the shirts that adorn you.
Yeah. And I thought for sure
that sounded nice. That should be on like one of those wood planks that hangs up in a kitchen.
Yeah, you hang that over your slider door to go out back.
Yeah, next to like bless this mess and drink wine. It's fine.
Well, we need those on shirts. Bless this mess. Drink wine. It's fine. So, boy, because I tell you what, Philip has a backlog, and I think Philip's going to help us design this billboard, Steve. But we've got the Limbless Dog Association charity box off, Limbs for Limbs. Mm-hmm. He's got to do the Tea Train, Steve's Tea Train that we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
What was that? I don't even remember.
Oh, God, I don't even know how we got talking about it. But we were talking about, I don't know, something related to a train that has your face on the front like a Thomas the Train.
Yeah, Thomas the Train.
But it's a teacup? I don't know. Hell if I know, man. This thing runs in the weirdest circles of the internet, and yet we still can't get listeners.
Oh,
you'd think after a while all these weird circles that we dabble in would gain weird random niche groups to jump on and listen. Yeah, that's like not true.
Our Venn diagram has no overlap whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Oh,
so
God.
100 weeks, Steve. I thought for sure 2 weeks ago when we unveiled the newest Philip design that we posted on our store, and you actually looked. You were looking at the design. You said, "Yeah, it's just like the one on your shirt." I was like, "Uh-oh,
here it comes."
I thought for sure you're gonna. Yeah, I mean, you wear those. I would see you wearing those a lot.
I would have said that, but I would have said, "Oh yeah, you wear the Calvin and Hobbes shirts a lot," but I still never would have realized. So you're telling me that even the days that, because there have been a couple days where you've had to come here straight from work,
brought the shirt 2 weeks ago.
Changed in the car or had it on underneath your work shirt?
2 weeks ago, Monday. We recorded Monday afternoon.
You are way too committed to this because there's no chance I'd ever do that.
100 weeks, and I think the thing I'm most excited about now is I told Katie last night, I don't think I'm going to wear any of these shirts for 6 months.
You're tired of them.
But I thought
they're tattered and worn.
I said, realistically, I'm only wearing them once a month.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, but
so you don't wear them any other time?
No, because I wear them once a week. Like, I've got a million T-shirts. I don't need to do this.
Now,
So
when you get home today, do you take that shirt off and put a different shirt on?
no, I'll leave this on for the rest of the day now, and then I'll throw it in the laundry basket. But next week is a new beginning, Steve, and it's done. I'm just going to wear what I feel like wearing going forward, because you see it's like 12 degrees out, and I've got a T-shirt. And I've been doing that for 100 episodes through the winters, through the springs, summers, and falls. But the winters, sometimes I used to put a long sleeve shirt underneath it, the Sheldon from Big Bang Theory look.
Right.
But most of the time, I just throw it on. I'm walking out there in 8-degree weather wearing a T-shirt to keep this stupid thing going that, again, nobody cared about, and Steve didn't notice, but I was able to do for 100 weeks. So I'm glad.
You could have gone 100 more.
Oh, there's no question. There's no question.
I mean, if I didn't notice after, I would say 20, then, yeah, you could have gone for eternity.
Sure. I mean, again, this is just under 2 years.
I would have gone another 4 weeks and made it 2 years.
Yeah, I could have done that. I was so ready. I'm just ready to be able to wear a different piece of shirt over here.
Different piece of shirt.
Just anything else. And I like these shirts, but it's every week, and I know which one to wear every week. I knew the 4-week rotation. It was the Calvin and Hobbes one. It went Spider-Man Venom. Then it went Rocket, Raccoon, and Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. This is the 4th of the 4 weeks, which is Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger. So I got my drawer. Those would be on one of my T-shirt drawers on the left side. These would essentially be the top 4 shirts in the winter and fall, because I'd be wearing long sleeve shirts or whatever. I just rotate, just pull the one from the bottom, pull the one from the bottom, pull
it's
the
remarkable. Boy, it's never been more clear to me that I don't pay attention to you.
Well, we've even had, since then, though, maybe Radar Steve is up, because I believe once or twice during this year you've asked me now, hang on, is this something you've worn recently again?
So I've been wait a minute, that's the second week you wore a green shirt.
Yeah, we went 2 calendar winters with me wearing T-shirts, and it didn't raise a single alarm for you, Steve.
No, not at all. But one thing that did raise a bit of an alarm this year was the anger that was brought on from a chicken restaurant in Central or Eastern or Western.
Should be Western Ohio. Yeah, now we've had some weird feuds in this show's history, most notably with, one-sided feud with independent and royalty-free music creator Kevin MacLeod.
Oh, yeah.
Who he refused to engage.
That son of a bitch.
Steve, it's the holidays.
All right.
But
that old dirty rascal.
But in the scheme of things, this feud here with, again, an Eastern Ohio chicken restaurant. Western Ohio chicken restaurant may be the dumbest.
There's some trouble a brewing.
Oh, no.
Down in Ohio. I don't even want to mention the name.
Nope, we're not going to. Things are changing.
Things have changed. I had posted last week, or we had posted. It was on the live on this podcast. You posted something
very nice
on the restaurant website that we were planning to go to, and
it was very nice.
It was basically saying, "Hey, we're going to be in the area." It was tongue in cheek, obviously. If anybody couldn't understand that it was tongue-in-cheek, I'm shocked.
For God's sake, we're whatever. It doesn't deserve the lambasting that I wanted to just say.
Well, at least one person didn't take it as tongue-in-cheek, because we were alerted a couple days later by a podcast listener saying, "Hey, I think they deleted your post. That's weird." So I went there, and sure enough, it was deleted. So I reposted as the Steve and Kyle podcast. I said, "Well, you didn't have to delete our post. Jeez. You sure are working hard to turn away business." And got a reply from a man. "Fellows."
Which he had to have met fellas.
Yeah.
Because fellows, it's like, we're not doing a long-term partnership in England.
No. So he said, "Fellows, we have responded respectfully and declined your offer. Harassing a place that you wish to support your podcast seems counterintuitive."
Now I'm mad.
Okay.
And now I'm mad again, because the term harassing is the most obnoxious use of that word I've ever heard. Yeah. We posted twice on their Facebook page. Twice over the course of 3 or 2 months.
Now, I guess looking at their Facebook history, yes, technically it was harassing because we were the last two posts, because no one posts on a chicken restaurant's Facebook
The
page.
only other posts are like, your chicken was cold and gross, I'm never coming back.
Yeah. So I replied, it was tongue-in-cheek. We're a silly podcast. You're a chicken restaurant. Let's not take ourselves too seriously here. And then radio silence. We have not heard anything since.
And we won't. So here's what we're going to do. To be determined. We are changing the location of the meetup.
yeah, did we do that yet?
No.
At least
We
let's
can
at
just
least
delete it on Facebook.
Yeah, delete
Yeah.
the location.
We're gonna change that location. We are not going there any further.
No.
We're gonna find another local facility that welcomes us with open arms.
I think we need a groundswell. I think we need a movement, a social media movement by
Yeah.
the listeners of this podcast. Please find a chicken restaurant in that area
the
that-
rival, perhaps.
that respects creativity and respects freedom of the podcast. We want to be there to do a podcast, and we want you to invite us. So you do the heavy lifting. We'll say yes
We're being persecuted.
for our beliefs.
Our First Amendment right to podcast in regional chicken restaurants is being.
I wonder if that's covered under our First Amendment. Probably not, right?
You gotta. Isn't Frank a lawyer?
Frank who?
Your friend Frank? He's not
No.
a lawyer?
No, he's a graphic designer.
Oh, boy. He can't help us.
Close. I mean,
I got a lawyer friend. I'll ask him. I'll ask if our right to express ourselves via podcast at a regional chicken restaurant in the middle of Ohio is protected under the First Amendment, or if somehow that infringes on the local Van Warts.
yeah. It's just very disappointing.
So we call on our fantastic listeners and the friends of this podcast to help us find this. And when I say that, I really mean Patrick, who works there. Now, granted, this does change some things.
Yeah.
Because the billboard is less than a mile from this restaurant. And now I kind of want to change the billboard to say, don't go to this place.
Can you do that?
Can we put... Oh, Steve, it is late in the game. Do we want to put the date that we're coming down so people who see that billboard, if for whatever reason, I want to see how many local Van Warts come meet us at whatever chicken restaurant we choose.
Now, the billboard goes up on
April 2nd.
April 2nd, so it's only going to be up a matter of days.
Oh, boy, that's a good point. I mean, it's a quick turnaround.
And we're pretty much locked into that April 6th date. We can't.
We cannot.
I don't think there was
your travel
there was
schedule.
no availability the rest of that month unless we'd have to wait until May, in which case the billboard will have been down for 4 days.
And this has already been a hassle enough just
Yeah.
to get the billboard up
Yeah.
and get everything signed and sent, delivered.
I could do the 27th.
No, can't do it.
Can't do it.
Nope.
Okay.
Listen, this is something that I received the contract for via email, and the response was, "Can you print this and fax it to my office?"
Fax.
Joe has no idea that I can just download it to a PDF thing.
Hell, you don't even have to download it.
And
Send it
just
to
sign
me.
it.
I'll just put my signature
Yeah.
on it in a PDF and send it back.
Yep, it's done. It's done now. But I said that was the option. I could either fax it or scan it and email it back to him. Didn't do either.
Mm-hmm.
Simply signed it on Adobe, sent it back to him. All done. This is what we're dealing with. Technology that wasn't that relevant in the
Who would have
80s.
known that the billboard industry was just so far behind? I mean, really.
I mean, get it together. I mean, the digital billboards changed the game. Do you think the companies with digital billboards are faxing in contracts? For crying out loud, Lamar Advertising of Ohio.
Come on.
Embarrassing, but that is still happening. So Saturday, April 6th is the date. We will be there. Maybe, if we could make the 27th work. Nope, can't do it.
Okay.
I was going to say we could see if they could pull it down 2 days early so we didn't have to worry about the Steve Pony Express.
So we'll
to
show
get it
up
back.
like as the Lamar truck pulls
Yeah.
up, do our photo op in front of it,
Yeah.
and then they tear it down.
and watch them rip our faces down.
I can't believe this whole thing. What has transpired in the last week is incredible.
Yep.
With this now a beef with a chicken. Beef, chicken. Hey, look at
find us a burger joint.
Yeah,
and then because then we got beef with the chicken restaurant.
We got beef with. Yeah, I almost said it. I almost said the F word.
Now we're putting a brave face on, but this obviously is a dent in our plans. This has been a place that we've been talking about for months to go to visit. Mm-hmm. We didn't even need welcoming arms.
No.
We just needed arms that were there. And that's not to disparage anybody missing an arm. I would have taken one arm.
Yeah.
I'd have taken...
Give me a high five.
I would have taken one up to the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
Something to feel welcoming me.
Stump.
Something to feel welcoming me into this restaurant. Instead, we get Mr. Grumps a lot.
Now, this guy...
who calls us fellows.
Look, 100% serious. Do not try... Don't go and, like...
No, do not.
What is it, like dox this guy or whatever?
It's
where
a
like
waste of everybody's
or
time.
swat him or whatever.
Yeah.
do not leave this guy alone because the post is still up. Actually, I'm going to delete the post right now, just because I don't want anything to come of that. But we did click on this guy's profile because he responded from a personal profile, not
he doesn't know how to comment from a business page.
Not from he didn't reply from the business page. And my theory, because he has a lot of media experience, a lot of radio and television experience.
Boy, I wonder what happened.
It's kind of my feeling that he maybe was unceremoniously let go.
What? Radio?
I know.
Hang on. I nearly fell out of the chair. You're telling me this guy's radio job didn't pan out, Steve?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
But it's such a bustling industry with jobs abound.
I know. So I'm feeling as though he was let go. He's not happy about that. So now anything that's radio or podcast related, because he would be in that age bracket where he thinks, it's not how it used to be.
Right. Used to have to.
So he got kicked out of the studio, walked right into a chicken place and said, I can run this joint.
So, to be clear, this regional chicken chain hired a man who appears to be in his 50s or 60s to run their social media.
Yeah. Yeah. It would appear so.
So we're looking for another location to do this meetup, have some drinks, and if we find a really cooperative partner, a little podcast would be ideal. We can make that work. So please help us out. I know we have Google Maps, but you know what? So do all of you.
Yeah. Set this up for us.
Never any satisfactory resolution there. I am still very angry to the point where we don't use it's our own Voldemort.
Yeah.
It is the restaurant that has no name in this circle.
Yeah. That's a shame. Could have been a big thing. We were already heading to Van Wert.
Yeah.
We picked out our place, but we ended up with a better place.
Yeah.
You'll hear about that towards the end of this episode here while we're recapping the greatest moments of the Steve and Kyle podcast from the year that was 2019.
Well, it wasn't all feuds and bickering, though, Steve. There was some positives. And that one of those positives was this year, me trying to convince you, and I think I have you on board now. I'll wait for next year to get a full update. You'll have to stay tuned to the podcast for this running theme. I think I have Steve on board. As you listen here to the time, we talked about Steve getting a pool.
Still not going to happen. Maybe.
So you don't think, though, age 8 or 9, I'm sure it will come. Because I remember when I was a kid, we had this conversation with my parents, too. We're like, come on, Dad, why can't we just get a pool?
Yeah.
I'll help take care of it. It's the same conversation as when you have a puppy.
Yeah, I want a puppy. I'll walk him every day.
Yeah.
I'll feed him. I'll clean up the poop in the yard.
So you don't think you'll acquiesce to that conversation? You don't think you could be talked into this kid's 8 or 9? You've had the tax returns of having an 8 or 9-year-old. Dad, come on. Let's go down to the local shop.
Buy a pool.
See if we can get a pool installed. You've already got the deck for it, right?
Yeah, our deck is falling apart, though.
Thinking about tearing that down?
Yeah, that's coming down at some point.
Okay, so now it's all the more reason. Build it up or build it around your fake pool.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll rebuild the deck with the idea that in the future
It could.
it could accept a pool.
Could you see yourself being a pool guy, though? Because I think you have to be... Like my mother-in-law they have a pool, and the level of work seems
ridiculous.
Stupid. It's checking pH levels and chemical levels and cleaning and sweeping and roboting and buying different covers and there's a leak in the liner. It's another $1,000.
I don't think I would. And the reason I say that is because my neighbor, he's got a pool. He's got a beautiful pool. His backyard is like, it's just one of those yards that you look out and you're like, man, that guy, he takes care of his yard. Like, his grass is always perfectly cut. He cuts it like every 3 days. It's got the lines, like with the alternating stripes and everything.
Sure.
Everything, like all the bushes are just perfect. You look in his backyard, he's got this beautiful pool with a big slide going into it. Nice green grass around the outside. And I'd see him in the summer. I see him out there quite a bit, just doing maintenance or skimming the top of the pool. You see the little vacuum driving through the pool. I've seen them in that pool 0 times. Never. He never goes in it. The only time I've seen someone in that pool is when my dog Lola fell in it last summer.
All of the work for no reward.
Yeah.
Now, I would normally agree with you. I would, you're sitting here, you're looking me in the eye, and you're telling me you're not, you can't see yourself having a pool. But there was a time in your life where you probably said, why would I ever own a jet ski? That's stupid.
Yeah.
How far away from the ocean were you again? Or how far away from where you could...
Oh, God, I don't know. It was from my apartment, I had to drive like 6 miles in one direction to the storage unit where I kept it at.
Sure. Which was more inland than where you needed to be, I'm assuming.
Which I paid more. The rental of the storage unit was more than the note on the jet ski, the monthly note on the jet ski. So I had to drive like 6 miles, hook that thing up,
pop the unit door,
drive about 20 miles north to put it in the water. At the cost of, I think, $20 each time I had to pay to put it in the water. And where I put it in the water, it wasn't like it was right on the ocean. It was it was through this inlet.
Yeah,
It was off of an inlet, and it was a no-wake zone the whole way. And if you're not familiar, it means you can't throw up a big wave when you basically have to idle through the inlet.
It's the worst.
It was a 40-minute just idle, like
just to get to the shark village,
just to get to the point. Then the coolest part, though, was once you got through the no wake zone, there was this real narrow inlet, and it was probably 200 yards long out to the ocean.
Yeah.
So when you hit that inlet, no wake zone ended, and you put the hammer down, and you could hit, like, that thing would do, I think its top speed was 62 or something.
Is that knots?
No.
Not
that's miles. That's miles per hour. And it would, you'd hit that, you finally hit the ocean, and there's always waves coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And, it feels like you're flying for 1,000 feet.
Just because within 2 minutes, you're so rocky, you're almost falling off the jet ski.
And then it didn't matter. August, it doesn't matter that the water, the ocean temperature, it's still like 60 degrees.
It's the same. It's a constant.
Yeah, so it's, wetsuit, whether it's half or 3/4, like, it's just miserable. The whole thing, terrible idea.
With
that being said,
yeah.
I was also, let's see, that was 07, 06 maybe. So I was 25. So I feel like that's a prime time for making bad purchases.
I would argue that the time for that is closer to like 18 to 21. And it's one of those things where you're like, you've randomly gotten a subscription to, Jet Ski Monthly. And you're like, Ma, Dad, gotta have the new Wave Crawler Triple Z.
That was a Yamaha VX 110 Sport.
It's got the 2-stroke in it. The mileage is great. But 25 is 25 out of the realm of being able to call a jet ski purchase ill-advised. I think we put that on the poll because I think 25...
look, I'm not defending it. It was a terrible idea, whether I was 18, 21, or 40. But you know what the worst part about it was? I was still driving remember my red truck?
Yeah.
I was still driving that at the time. That was a 93 Ford Ranger with... At that time, it probably had 160,000 miles on it. Yet I had a brand new jet ski, hot off the lot.
Refuse to upgrade your...
I'm going to pull up the exact picture so you can look at that thing.
Oh.
It was nice, right?
Man, you're 25, you're...
Living at the beach.
Going to the beach, you're trying to get the jet ski off that garbage truck as quick as possible so the chicks only see the jet ski and not the truck.
Right, yeah. Every time I backed down the ramp to put it in the water, I thought to myself, oh, God, I swear if my emergency brake doesn't hold.
This is the
because
time.
then you have to unload it from the trailer, and if you don't have a friend with you, you just have to leave it floating there and hope it doesn't float away in the time that you have to go and pull your vehicle back up the ramp and park it like a quarter of a mile away.
You have to, stay, jet ski, stay. I'm just going to go move the truck. And then you have to run around. Oh, and you did that for a couple of years, as we've talked about.
No, I had it for 2 summers. In 2 summers, I put 17 hours on it. They were measured, those things, like it's not like a car where it's measured in, miles that you put on it. It's like a riding lawnmower. Yeah, measure it in hours. So I had, I think, 17 hours on that jet ski. And then I sold it for, I think, $100 less than I owed on it. So I basically broke even on it.
Which is fine, right?
I mean,
it could have been a learn. But you know what? I think if you had lost on it, Steve, like you had just lost your tail on this thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been what, the teaching moment you so needed, because for ever so briefly today, you've discussed the possibility of maybe having a pool down the road.
No, you've discussed the possibility.
Well, you seemed more open to it than what I initially thought.
I would think
we could rebuild the deck with that in mind,
I think we can both agree that me getting a pool would be a much more reasonable purchase than 25-year-old me getting a jet ski.
Okay.
You have to agree with that, right? I mean, at least I will get some kind of enjoyment out of a pool.
Oh, boy. I feel like 25-year-old jet ski Steve is a happy...
The only time I had fun with that is when I was actually in the water on it.
Yeah. But I feel like
that was such a... Like, if I wanted to go out in the water on it, that would constitute 45 minutes of the greater 3.5-hour time investment.
I feel like 25-year-old Jet Steve is a happier man than, let's call, 44-year-old Pool Steve.
You think?
I think so. I think you're out there... You're on, vacation that you guys take every other month or every other week.
But see, the idea with jet ski was always like, I'm going to get so many chicks. Like, you see it on Baywatch, and you see zipping around the waves, and like there's the hot chicks in bikinis on the shoreline, like, hey! But that doesn't happen. It's not how it works.
But 25-year-old Steve, even out there, doesn't know that or want to believe that.
It's kind of ignorance is bliss.
Whereas mid-40s Steve is going to bed the night before knowing he's neglected the pool for 2 weeks, and before this pool party tomorrow where there's going to be 25 screaming 8-year-olds.
Oh, God.
You have to wake up at the crack of dawn.
You're right.
And go out there and scrape.
Right. Jet Steve is so much happier.
Than Pool Steve. Okay, that's going to have to be the poll. Who's a happier man, Jet Steve or Pool Steve? Future Pool Steve.
Yeah, it was 20 what, 25-year-old Jet Steve.
Yep.
Or 44-year-old Pool Steve. All right, vote on that at Facebook.com/Stephen Kyle or on Twitter at Stephen Kyle.
I could see you just like I come over for the podcast or whatever, and you got your pool. Hey, you're just a defeated man because now your life revolves around the pool. Even when you're going away on vacation, you and Annette talked about becoming big holiday travelers. You talked about you already screwed the pooch there with having a kid.
Yeah.
And second, be like, oh, hey, we just have to have someone come by 6 times twice a day to drop chemical tabs into this corner of the pool and run the vacuum and turn on this or that.
Oh, God.
Matter of years, Steve. Just a few summers away.
I don't know about that.
You and I, we've got some ground level deck demolition happening this spring.
Yeah.
And I think once you start getting a visualization of that yard,
How much bigger the yard's going to be?
how much space you're seeing, and how good that in-ground pool would look and feel, I think I'm going to have you wrapped around the finger of a pool.
I think if we make it big enough where I can put a jet ski in there, combine my two alter egos, Pool Steve and Jet Steve, you may have me.
The reason I think I'm in luck here is because obviously you have a track record of making poor water-based financial decisions.
I still stand by that decision. Sold it for $100 more than I owed on it, hence made a profit off of it.
Oh, man. Speaking of terrible decisions, we now go back all the way to 4th grade little Kyle. Little Kyle way back in elementary school who decided to sign up for an extracurricular program to help out.
This is the most incredible revelation I've ever received about you because it is so counter to what you are today. And that is, in 4th grade, you were Kyle, the conflict manager.
I don't know about you. When I was in 4th grade, I only did it because at the end of the year, we ended up getting a day at the pool in town and the track and field place. But I was a conflict manager.
Really?
So one
that
day
is the most surprising thing I've ever heard.
But it was
because typically you're a conflict instigator.
Well, that is not 100%
I don't know.
true.
I'm on the Watchdog page. Somebody may post hey, does anyone know how the traffic is? And
because it's a dumb question, Steve.
Well, just as an example, but you could just ignore it. But typically you reply with something along the lines of "Go F yourself."
It's not that forward. I had one, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, where somebody posted this weird stream of consciousness about how my husband and I just laugh. Everybody's in the left lane at a stoplight. Why isn't anybody? It's a terrible. It's worse than Jerry Seinfeld routine, and it's this nonsense about how she doesn't get why people aren't at a stoplight in the right lane, and too many people are in the left lane. Imagine your life, Steve. We were just talking before we started this podcast about how you were out too late, past the witching hour. You're in your late 30s, and that's irresponsible.
Yeah,
imagine the age where you and Annette are driving along the 2-laner, or the 4-laner with a median in the middle, and you come up to a stoplight, and you guys just you give her a little tap on the arm, and you're laughing.
Hey, check it out. Everyone's in the left lane again.
Again, you guys just get that gives you joy.
Yeah.
Imagine how old and how different you have to be to get joy from that. And
I'll be honest, I look forward to the simpler times. I mean, a lot of people look back to the simpler times, but I think that the simpler times are ahead of us.
You're looking forward
as our brain starts to turn to mush.
Yeah.
After 60, 70, 80 some years on this planet, we start getting sheer joy out of watching a squirrel walk around or cars in the left lane.
I could see you being like a guy who sits in your backyard with binoculars looking for birds. You don't want to go too far.
Yeah, I'm not much into birding, but
squirreling?
Squirreling, yeah. Maybe chipmunking.
Oh, that's a black-tailed Midwestern.
We have I've never seen so many jet black squirrels as we have
really
in our backyard.
I mean, no disrespect. Are you sure they're not skunks?
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to be sure.
Yeah. I mean, because they're black with the white stripe. Squirrels.
Yeah, the big white stripe.
They smell kind of weird sometimes.
Yeah.
Squirrels.
But you've got that jungle out back that's mixed with deck wood, leftover electronics from a bygone era.
I swear, Toby's new favorite thing when we let him out in the backyard, he always, he loves carrying sticks around.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon for us to look out in the backyard, and him and Lola are chasing each other around, and Toby's got a 9-foot-long stick in his mouth. So everything he runs near, he gets clipped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But since the snow has melted, he brings back something every time he comes in the house. For a while, it was flower pots. We don't know where he's getting them. But yesterday he brought back the cap, the white cap that goes on a fence post. The white 4x4 PVC posts.
Certainly.
And then they have those little decorative caps that you put on top of them. He found one of them. I don't know where.
Wow.
So I'm assuming that I know that there's stuff under the deck because I've peeked under there before.
That's maybe where he's looking.
And I see I think that these people just seriously took all their garbage and threw it under the deck.
Well, we talked about last week, and boy, we are digressing way early now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this all started with you being
an instigator on the Facebook.
Yeah, but what was your title in elementary school?
The conflict manager. And I promise you, there's no chance we'll forget to go back to those.
So Kyle, the conflict manager.
But we talked last week about starting our mortar podcast, and that's obviously about more murder. Because there's...
Boy, when you put it that way, exactly the way I put it, it sure sounds dumb.
Maybe we need to do a deep dive on your backyard. Because if you're seeing flower pots, deck wood, soon to be an old shed back there, the remnants of
I'm
one.
I'm telling you, man. Hey, there we go. You know something? No. Don't even do it.
Come on.
I'm annoyed at this whole contest. It was too much work for not enough payoff, and we're not doing it next year.
Come on, the new season started, Steve.
There is some there are some things happening in the realm of new shed going up in the yard.
First of all, I almost need you to start a list because now we need to go back and tie the loose ends before we get now to the yard. So we started.
You're
with
a conflict manager.
Me being a conflict manager. So
Dumb.
let's go
Move
back
on.
to the. Okay, done. Stand aside.
No. So back when you were a conflict manager.
Yeah. 4th grade.
All right. So in 4th grade, say little Timmy and little Susie got in a fight on the playground over whose turn it was on the swings.
Yeah, Timmy's decking her.
Does a teacher intervene and say, whoa, it's time to bring in the conflict manager?
Now, Steve,
or is that just silly?
We were the police, okay? So we handled it ourselves. We didn't have to bring the teachers into it unless obviously things escalated.
Right.
We'd go over there with our orange vests on.
This is legitimate.
Absolutely. And my clipboard. I had a clipboard.
Oh, really? What was...
I had a checklist, and I had to determine what started the conflict.
Oh, boy.
What was the root, obviously. Mm-hmm. What was the actual conflict, what happened, and how do we resolve it? I don't remember if I ever resolved one. Because I'm in 4th grade.
So, punches are throwing, and you're... Wait a minute! Who said this first?
Jonathan! Stop hitting her in the eye! I'm trying to fill out my checklist. So
don't throw mud at my vest.
I have to pay for this.
Did you have a badge?
No, but it had they had printed on the back conflict manager. Yeah, I think it was conflict.
So it didn't have your last name and a number?
Oh God, no.
It wasn't a jersey?
No, because I got fired.
There we go. Now things are starting to sound a little more familiar.
4th grade Kyle got fired from being a conflict manager.
For starting conflict?
No, what happened was I got found out pretty easily that me and a couple of friends joined only because once every month or two you got a pizza party. So I was showing up to those, and then I was consistently skipping my shifts.
Oh, no.
You have to miss out on recess, Steve.
To be the conflict
To
manager.
be a conflict manager. Now,
Yeah,
granted,
but how often do you have to miss recess?
Oh, I don't know. Let's just say once every 2 weeks. Sounds about accurate,
Boy, that's
right?
worth a pizza party to me, I think.
Yeah, but if it's like 2 a year and I already got one of them, I gotta be honest with you, I'm on the downhill there.
Yeah, it's true.
So I got fired from being a conflict manager, and I threw a big hubbub about it. Didn't get invited back to join the field trip thing at the end of the year.
Oh, there was a conflict manager field trip?
Well, yeah, that's the main reason to join. It's like I said, that you get to go to, I think it was the high school, but they, the pool and the track and the basketball courts, like essentially a field day. And I didn't get invited back to go to that, and it was a big deal.
Boy, that must have been rough.
It was a big deal. I remember those pizza parties like it was yesterday, though, Steve. They're trying to teach us ways to resolve conflicts, and my biggest concern was what all of the 2 liters of pop tasted like mixed together.
Oh, you were that kid. You were a mixer?
Yeah, me and my 2 weirdo friends, we called it like Project X, and we just mixed 18 sodas in. Yeah, that's not that bad. No, it's fine.
It tastes like sludge.
This is really good. Like Pepsi, Mountain Dew, orange, raspberry tea, fruit punch, and cola. This tastes great. Yeah. This is really good.
Your ears are bleeding, but you're like, no, pretty good. I like it.
Because at that point, you're convinced. I found it. I found that, this is going to be the next big thing. So
yeah, as if you would be able to, like, that's how dumb you are when you're a kid. As if you would think that you were going to start your own company to make this own drink, but they would just say, yeah, go ahead, use Pepsi as an ingredient.
To mix this, hey, Bob, it's another day to produce. Need you to go to the local store and buy about 6 pallets of Pepsi and bring it back. We'll just dump it into the vat.
Yeah. The overhead might be a bit high for that, considering each one can of soda has 9 other varieties of soda in it.
Well, I'm not fiscally irresponsible either, Steve. I'm obviously buying 2 liters when I produce this, so obviously lowering the overhead a little bit. So yeah, I was fired from being a conflict manager, but I do not instigate.
Surprising thing ever.
That idea now immortalized, Steve, by our friend Philip Hart on Twitter. You can find that design, StephenKyle.com/merch. That is Conflict Manager. And again, if you buy it, I'll see it. And if you buy it in anything other than that beautiful, beautiful bright yellow,
it's got to be bright yellow.
I'll cancel the order myself.
Do it. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want Kyle to sign it, all you have to do is get it shipped to you. Then you take it and ship it to us. Kyle will sign it. We'll then reship it back to you at your cost.
At your cost,
obviously.
yeah.
So send a self-addressed stamped package.
Yeah, stamp it. Put 15 stamps on it to cover the weight of the shirt that I then send back to you with some stupid silver Sharpie on the front.
Another piece of merch available at StephenKyle.com/merch is the recap shirt from our trip. Possibly the greatest voyage we've ever gone on, other than the Boston trip. This was a voyage not just in distance alone, but in crowdfunding. We raised money and got a billboard for this stupid podcast in a town that was picked simply because we threw a dart at a map. Like, we put a map up of the United States on the wall here in the studio, threw a dart at it, and landed on the little town of Van Wert, Ohio.
This is, without a doubt, the pinnacle of what this podcast has achieved, and no doubt will ever achieve. The time we saw our faces on a billboard.
What a week it has been, especially the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just 24 hours ago, we were 1 hour away from arriving in Van Wert, Ohio.
Yeah, now
for the reveal, the big reveal of the billboard. And if you haven't followed us on social media, I would definitely do that, especially Twitter, because there was most of the stuff we posted yesterday went to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But the one video, we were doing a live Twitter video when we rolled up on the billboard for the first time, and it was spectacular.
Oh, yeah. Do we have the audio of that? Is there
yes.
a chance you could get that ready quick?
I can pull that up.
So obviously this thing has been a year in the making, as we talked about extensively, Steve.
And that's probably, for the most part, what we're talking about today.
Yeah, sorry. So sorry in advance. If you were there yesterday, you're going to hear a recap of yesterday.
Yeah, if you're here for the hard-hitting news of the week.
Yeah.
we probably won't get to something.
But coming up, this is a little bit of off-air planning that we forgot to do off-air, Steve. But we also, coming up today, we have to update the Throat Goblin tournament.
Yeah. So
we'll read the recap of the matches, and we'll post the new ones for next week. We may not have all of the
Yep.
have all of the audio ready.
We will, but it's not going to be as quick as it's been in years past.
I noticed this when I opened up my weekly show prep Word document that I have, Steve. And number one, our Billboard visit. Obviously, we talked about this, and it's going to consume most of the time. Mm-hmm. Number 2, Throat Goblin tournament update. And I realized the intro's playing, and we have not discussed this since last Sunday.
Yeah.
The last time we updated the Throat Goblin tournament, but seeing as the NCAA basketball tournament is down to the Final Four, we are officially a week behind, and after Monday we'll be 2 weeks behind.
Yeah.
So it's time we will update that in some fashion on this episode. But yeah, this Billboard a year in the making.
I have the audio right here.
You do.
I can happily play it right now.
So this is our very first eyesight. Now we saw pictures from our Billboard guy and from our friend Pat down who lives and works down there in Van Wert. But this was our very first visual, the first time we laid eyes on our Billboard.
So in this video here, I think we pulled over. We were just a couple of minutes away from the Billboard, so we wanted to be rolling so we could give you actual live audio and the first true reaction.
Do you see it?
I see it on the
Let me coordinate the traffic lights, folks. So
next time you're in Van Wert and you need your automobile worked on, try Superior Audio.
You're going to buy here and you're going to pay here. That's
not
the
auto.
Convenience that Superior Auto is providing.
Oh my God, I see it.
Do you see it?
I see it on the
there we are, passing the car dealership, and there it is, next to Van Wert bedrooms. Our big stupid faces.
That is the stupidest thing I have ever seen in my life.
I am so proud. That is the highlight of not just the day, but my life. Oh.
Now,
that was it.
Do you also have the audio? Because that was an early run-through, Steve. Mm-hmm. You and I went there before the 1 p.m. is when we had listed. We got there a little early, had a little lunch. Drove by just to take a glance at the Billboard.
Yes.
Do you have the video and audio of when we pulled into the parking lot to meet?
No.
Okay. We ripped into the parking lot and in front of a business called Van Wert Bedrooms.
Yep. Very nice looking establishment.
We ripped, blaring our intro music. Malt Shop Bop was blasting to all the citizens of Van Wert. There was applause, if I remember right.
There was a bit of cheering.
There was.
Made me very happy.
We were honking away. It was a joyous occasion. So yeah, we were able to finally see that, and as you can hear, genuine surprise there, and that and joy in that audio,
which is crazy because, like you said, we had seen it before.
Yeah,
we knew exactly what it was going to look like. Are you hearing that?
Yeah,
sounding a little fuzzy. We knew exactly what it was going to look like. There shouldn't have been a surprise at all, and yet when we pulled in, it was still like Christmas morning,
and it's. You can't really take into account because we saw the location. I saw what the Billboard looked like in the location, but I didn't really consider. It's set back behind the bedroom store. I posted the picture. You have to, again, check our social media, like Steve said, at Steve and Kyle, Facebook.com/Steve and Kyle, on Instagram at Steve and Kyle, and you can see the picture of the Billboard. And next to it, we're up against Van Wert Bedrooms cat puns on their little display board. Yeah. So it's a comedy race down in Van Wert. And someone said down the road, there was one of the signs said 404, like error 404 sign not found on their display board.
They're clever down there.
So we walked into the Laugh Shack down in Van Wert, Ohio, with all these local businesses trying to one-up each other's jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it was something. Man, this was something. I don't know why my phone is not letting me send this video.
Oh, not a big deal.
No, that's all right. I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. and I will play it right from my phone.
Closer than ever. Well, no, we've already driven by one. So we're close, just as close as we were.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit.
An hour.
Okay, we're sitting at the light.
Oh, yeah.
It's about only...
To hit the music.
So, of course, we played our own music.
And it doesn't sound like it, but that's literally as loud as my car stereo went.
There's legitimately a group of people in the park.
There were 10 people there.
Best thing we've ever done.
There was little cheering.
A lot of it. And Steve's phone didn't pick it up. That was very exciting. About 10 people standing in the Van Wert Bedrooms parking
My God.
lot.
That was so... I can't even begin to tell you how crazy that was to me, because even though we had people who on Facebook and Twitter said, I'm going to be there, when we pulled in the parking lot and there were people standing there waiting for us,
Yeah.
that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me wanted to shake them and say, why are you here?
Well, especially some. And
What have you done? The only person that had a legitimate excuse for being there
yeah.
is Pat, because he was working like a half a mile from there yesterday. He's the one that, when we first announced that the billboard was going to be in Van Wert, Ohio, he was up on a roof, like nailing down shingles, listening to the podcast, and heard, and we're coming to, and then the dart was thrown, Van Wert, Ohio. And he said he looked to his left, and like 50 feet away, there was a welcome to Van Wert sign, because he grew up in the area. I believe I forget what town something. Yeah.
Dolphin? Does Dolphin sound
yeah,
like it's accurate? Dolphin, Ohio?
Dolphin, Ohio. Yes, that's where he grew up. And Van Wert was, the way he described it to us yesterday was Van Wert that was where they would go cruising when he was in high school. And they got everyone got their driver's license.
I'm still trying to figure out what that meant. Was it just
you don't know? You didn't do cruising?
I mean, were they having beers? Were they just driving?
It's where you just drive.
Now here's my question, because I wasn't born and raised in a big city, but apparently, me in the 1990s and early 2000s, this is a little bit country bumpkin for me. He made it sound like Van Wert police said, no.
He did.
No more. He accused Van Wert police of profiling Dolphin residents.
Yeah, Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Just like the animal, if there's more than one of them.
Sad nets.
Seems it's not dolphins.
Delphites. And... he accused them of you can't cruise here anymore.
Kicked him out of town.
But
Kicked him back across the canal to Dolphin.
But how can police say, hey, I could tell that license plate. I know it's Ohio, but it's got the stink of a dolphin plate. You need to take that ramshackle pickup and get over the canal, take the covered bridge over the canal, get out of my town. How would police know they're from Dolphin, and why can police tell them you can't drive here if you're from Dolphin? I have a lot of questions for Pat, and I don't want to call him a liar on this podcast, Steve, but now that you're telling me cruising is literally just them driving around, not track racing, not, smoking marijuana, not drinking beers while they're driving, but literally just driving to drive.
Yeah.
I question, is he trying to incite a Van Wert rivalry with us?
I don't know. Now we're getting all out of order here.
Way sidetracked. Sorry. I'm all fired up about Patrick's lies.
But we digress.
So
we left Kyle's house 9:00 yesterday morning, made the 3-hour drive, straight through, no stops, nothing. Straight through to Van Wert.
Don't have time for that.
We were taking pictures and videos the whole way, so hopefully, again, social media, Steve and Kyle on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And so we started getting close. We pulled over. We recorded the video that we just played for you a few minutes ago. And so initially, we drove past the billboard. Shot that video. We were shocked at that point, it was about 12:15 or so. We had told everyone that we were going to be getting there around 1. So we doubled back, went to one of a great hometown food establishment there.
Yeah, we wanted to find the local fare. You know,
So
we're traveling, so you want to make sure to sample all the local fare and garb.
Yeah, so we did. We sampled the King of Burgers. Burger King, I believe, was the name.
I tell you what, haven't heard of it? Delicious burger.
I had the one, their signature one, called the Hopper, I think.
Ah, I don't know where that would come from, but hey, you know what? Good for them. They clearly, the public came out in droves to the King of Burgers.
So as we're standing there at Burger King waiting for our food, placed our order. It took entirely too long for them to get us
Took a few minutes.
standard menu items like burgers and fries. But we're standing there next to the soda fountain, and a man walks up to us, and he mentioned something about your Michigan State shirt, because you were wearing a Michigan State shirt and hat.
It's game day yesterday.
Showing your allegiance. Yeah, you had your uniform on. You were ready to be tagged into the game last night. Mentioned your shirt, and then he said, "Wait a minute. Are you the guys on the billboard?" And I heard exactly what he said the first time, but I was so taken back, I said, "What? What did you say? Are you the guys on the billboard down the street?"
Yeah.
And we both bashfully said, "Yes." And then he said, "I'm just messing with you guys. It's me, Pat." So he was...
No idea.
He just happened to... I guess he was watching the live video when we drove by the billboard. He was on his lunch break, again, a half a mile away. Said he was going to stop at the pizza place and grab a couple pieces of pizza, but we had said in the video, we're going to go to Burger King. So he decided to come to Burger King and mess with us. And as happy as I was to hear that was the case, I was also a little disappointed, because I was kind of hoping... when the whole time we were driving down, we thought, wouldn't it be crazy if this billboard was the talk of the town and everybody's wondering,
right,
what's going on? Who are these guys? What's a podcast? And that was not the case. So we sat at Burger King. We had lunch with Pat. Talked learned about the area. Mm-hmm. She's got 4 kids, I believe, 3 girls and a boy. Growing up in the shadows of Van Wert, in the wonderful community of Dolphin.
I mean, anybody can raise a family. The big decisions come down to what type of community do you want. Do you want to raise your family in the rat-infested, streets running with blood town of Van Wert, home of the vile Frickers family? Or
do you want to cross back over the canal?
Take that covered bridge, cross the canal, just see, homes lined up and people wave. Steve's dream.
Rolling countrysides.
Yeah. And neighbors holding out.
Neighbors waving as they're cutting their grass with those mowers that don't have actual motors.
Yeah, it's just like a manual push.
It's a wheel with blades on it.
Just waves. The milkman is carrying his jars of milk, stops and waves, offers you a complimentary jar.
Talking about a little place called Dolphin.
Dolphin, Ohio.
Dolphin, Ohio.
And that's where Patrick decided to raise his beautiful family. Mm-hmm. So he was working. But, so we were able to at least have lunch with Patrick, which was very nice. And because he could not stay very long, and he was not able to join us in the next most bustling community of Convoy, Ohio, Steve. But again, I jump a little too far ahead. So we were able to have lunch with Patrick. He took a few minutes, went and joined us at the billboard. The video you heard there of the crowd roaring as we approached. We were able to take a bunch of pictures. Again, those are all on the social media. Talked there, hung out in the parking lot of Van Wert bedrooms
for entirely too long,
for about an hour. And at one point, we have a listener, a friend of the show named Abe, who he was a few minutes past 1.
Yeah.
And we were again, there was about 6 or 7 cars in Van Wert bedrooms parking lot, which I'm comfortable saying, Steve, was the most traffic the Van Wert bedrooms parking lot has seen since the spring sale of 1998.
I would assume that there were no doubt salespeople inside just going, Oh, here they come.
I'm finally going to sell this vanity today. Or, no, it's a bedroom. That's a bathroom. I'm finally going to sell this queen mattress
That guy
today.
looks like he needs a posturepedic.
Instead, we all sat outside. So we're hanging out. We're just chatting, talking about how stupid it is that people have driven from anywhere to see our faces 10 feet 6 inches tall, 22 feet 9 inches wide. And out comes a person in a blue work shirt.
Yeah.
Not out, but I'm sorry. When we saw him coming from across the
it
parking
appeared
lot,
as though he came out of the Van Wert bedroom.
he walked up and I was like, oh boy, here we go. Here it
Yeah.
is. And it's not a big deal.
He had a look about him
Yeah.
that he was like I was fully expecting him to say, "Hey, my manager wants me to ask you guys if you can get out of the lot."
Yeah, or at least move your cars. Which again, that's totally understandable. The noon rush.
We were loitering.
Yeah. Well, the 1 p.m. rush was coming.
Mm-hmm.
It was just running a few minutes late that day, and the bedroom sale was heating up. So they needed to clear the lot around too. So he walks up, and you turn, hey,
Hey man, how's it going?
and you,
Good.
And you just said, I'm Steve.
And he said, "I'm Abe." And from that moment on, I knew we were fine.
Yeah, our friend of the
Because
show,
he was-
Abe.
He was another unintelligent person that made this drive for some reason.
Right, and we
I'm
sat.
just kidding, Abe.
We
No, I
sat
think
down.
I do question everybody's
Everybody.
motives 100%. Abe he was the only other one that had a bit of an excuse
Yeah,
for being there because he works nearby.
Yeah.
Like he works very close to there. He was I guess he listened to the radio show when we were on in another market that we
Yep.
failed in and continued to listen. Same with Pat, who listened when we were on in a market that we're no longer in because we can't seem to maintain.
Yeah, awful show.
So
But it's funny because we sat down with Abe, or when we talked to Abe a little later, I still don't know if he's serious. I think he is. I really only stopped because I was on my way home from work,
oh, I 100% believe that.
which coincides with every single thing we've heard about this podcast via review and told to our faces.
Yeah. That was it was essentially a review, but instead of us reading it and being
Yeah.
sad, the person said it directly to us.
Well, there was another person there in a similar boat, one of the brothers Humphrey, Stephen Humphrey, who he made it very clear he did not enjoy our program
Yeah.
until I think it was a year ago.
I had an interaction with him at an after party after the Side Gigs Live at Night show, and I must have convinced him, like, hey, give it another shot.
Yeah.
And he did.
And he
So,
listens.
I remember having an interaction with him, but I don't remember the specifics of it.
Right.
But yeah, he turned it around.
It was
We turned him around.
yeah, you're darn right. That's how you convince people.
One at a time.
When they use mean words to describe this podcast, you say just give it one more chance. And then when they do,
And nothing is different.
nothing is different.
Yeah, because we don't... It's not like after that interaction, I called you up and said, hey, man, we got some changes to make.
Yeah.
We got to win somebody over. No. We stayed the course. So I'm happy to know that we didn't change one thing.
Yeah.
Except for his mind.
Well, and our numbers show it.
No better off now than...
We may have gained a Humphrey. We lost a lot of others in the process.
Yeah, to this day, our most listened to episode is still
Episode
number one.
Number one. Never to be topped. Never to be topped. So, we hung out there. That was nice. We took a bunch of photographs. Our friend Zach showed up. Zach was 10 times more prepared than you and I, Steve.
Zach is always more prepared.
He actually brought a camera.
Brought a camera, brought
was stunning.
brought a tripod,
Absolutely stunning.
set up the camera with the timer and everything so we could take a group photo. And we took a bunch of individual photos. At one point, you were yelling at anyone that was walking by or driving through the parking
You would
lot.
say yelling. I was simply collecting the accolades that were clearly coming our way. Never have so many people been conveniently, Steve, quote, out on walks in this community as they were yesterday, a little after 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So, you see a family and they're kind of glancing, they see a group of people in the bedroom parking lot.
They know something's up.
They know something's up, and they're probably glancing at the billboard. So I simply chose to tell them, hey, thanks for listening. Yeah, that's me on the billboard. Did that with a couple of passerbys, but one passerby, Steve,
Karen,
you had to have an interaction with.
I did. Karen walked by.
Well, and this has been a discussion on this show before because this happened in public for us a year or two ago. We've talked about how I'll wear my costume out during big games for Michigan State.
Yeah, your uniform. You'll wear your team uniform out.
And you saw this a year ago or so where I would say to somebody also wearing Michigan State stuff, go green.
Yeah.
And the response from that person that day and 98% of the time is
go white.
That's the colors of Michigan State. So you decided, as you see Karen.
So Karen, an older woman, walked by on her way to the auto dealership next door, and I noticed she's got a Spartans shirt on.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, time to find some common ground. Karen walked by. I said, go green. And she turned and looked at me. We made eye contact, and then she continued to walk, which at that point you then said, I got it for you. Go white. Well, that was all it took because then we had welcomed her in. So she turned around, you pointed to the billboard and you said, yeah, that's me up there.
I'm proud. I'm like a proud father. I don't show off Reed this way to people. Yeah, that's my son. But yet there my face is 10 feet 6 inches tall. And so, I say, hey, I know you're wondering. Yeah, that's us on the billboard there. That's me and him. And I'm pointing to you back and forth. And
she said, no, it's not. Wait, is it? And she's looking at the billboard, looking at you, looking at the billboard, looking at you. And then we finally convinced her, yes, it was.
Yeah.
And then we then gave her a poster with our pictures on it, which Philip had designed for us. I don't think we autographed them, though, did we?
Not hers, no. Because that was given away by our friend Timmy DeShano within 1 second of her being there. He decided he was giving her that poster. So I did make a deal with her. She was working at Guaranteed Auto in Van Wert, Ohio, and I said, hey, every car you're trying to sell, you promise them a free subscription to Steve and Kyle. And you tell them to go to steveandkyle.com,
enter the promo code nothing,
and click subscribe. They'll know. They can pick up the IP address that they just bought a car from Van Wert, and you get a free subscription to the podcast. So we had an interaction with Karen, and I'm assuming that poster is hanging up in Guaranteed Auto right now. We will have a check on that from our friend Pat in a few weeks when he goes in and fakes buying a car. I don't know if he knows that yet.
Yeah, Pat, fake buying a car.
You have to go fake buy a car at Guaranteed Auto, or at least go in and say, hey, Karen, how are you? I'm Pat. Where's that poster? And then menacingly crack your knuckles to make sure she knows that should be hanging on the wall.
So after the interactions there, we took a bunch of photos again. We then convoyed to Convoy.
Yeah.
Convoy, Ohio, the town, 5-6 miles away.
Yeah, found our new home away from home, Steve.
Oh, D's on Main Street.
D's on Main Street. Never in my life have I seen a group of people, and when I say a group, I mean two, so shocked at this quantity of people coming in.
Yeah.
We walked into literally one person working behind the bar, two people sitting at the bar who also work at the bar or own the bar or whatever. And I walk in and I see, wow, there's tables lined up in a separate room. I say, hey, can we sit back here? And him and the bartender look at each other for about 3 seconds too long. How many you got? I don't know, 10 or 12. Nods his head and goes, I guess.
Now, this was, this was a local bar. You could tell that.
Sure.
This was like the local watering hole. People go there on Friday after a long week, or go there for a beer after work, and so we wondered what the obviously it's 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock on a Saturday. It's probably not going to be that packed. So when they see a big group of 12 people walk in, they're going to know these people aren't from here, because the first thing that they did. They walked over. Very nice gentleman. Where are you all from? So we kind of went around the table. Grand Rapids, Lapeer, Nashville, because Chris drove 8 hours from Nashville.
Chris Pruitt, who might be the nicest gentleman I've ever talked to in my life. Chris, you're fantastic. Drove more than 8 hours from outside of Nashville, brought us a gift.
Yes, which we've eaten so many
Oh, my God. We've eaten so many dark chocolate.
Oh, dark chocolate Kit Kats are so good.
You know, we were in a bit of a haze on the way back yesterday, but I think I've come to the conclusion that is the world's best candy.
Tier 1, right?
That's tier 1. Dark
Tier
chocolate
1A.
Kit Kats, tier 1 candy.
Yeah.
For another day, we can discuss that. So, yeah, we kind of go around the room. And like you said, I mean, listen, Lynn, my God, what an outstanding show. So Lynn and forced her poor boyfriend to drive almost 6 hours from outside Alpena, Michigan to come see us in
Oh, did I say
Van Wert.
Lapeer?
Lapeer was Zach.
Oh, Lapeer was Zach. Okay.
Lapeer was our friend Zach, who showed up, the only one prepared. Lynn from outside Alpena. Timmy from the east side of the state. The brothers Humphrey and wife from West Michigan here as well.
Now, it was funny, too, because we thought, all right, they're going to hate us at this place. And, man, they could not have been nicer.
Unbelievable.
They could not have been, and that's unfair for us to say that, to prejudge what they're going to think, but they could not have been nicer. It was such a wonderful group of people there, from the bartender to the other gentleman that was bringing us some food, and they were so nice.
It was awesome, right?
And I got to wonder what they were thinking, though, when as soon as we sat down, we noticed they have a Touch Tunes or whatever.
Yeah, jukebox.
The jukebox.
The newest thing in that bar.
Yeah, with you download the app, play as many songs as you want. So I got to wonder what they were thinking when, as soon as we sat down and realized that there was a Touch Tunes there, the first thing we started playing was Shallow from A Star Is Born, and boy, did it play loud.
That's
like we don't have, you just select the songs. You don't have any selection over the volume. So when the bartender came over to bring us our first round of drinks, and she had to yell who ordered the beer?
Yeah.
We said to her it's okay. You can turn that down.
Yeah, we don't need the concert.
And then she, are you sure? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're positive.
We could use 25% of this. We're simply doing it for some background noise, And so, we played about 5 or 6 songs off of that, and then it became a war as we're then fighting somebody's paying extra to play The Offspring and the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, whatever. But you had a fantastic time at D's on Main Street in Convoy, Ohio, which I think a little bit of fear was warranted, though, Steve, because, again, the last interaction was the same message you had sent Fricker's Chicken.
Yeah.
And I copied it, and I sent it to D's on Main Street, simply requesting if we could do the podcast there. And in hindsight, I think we could have anyway. They wouldn't have known a thing.
Probably, because we were in a separate room.
Yeah. And it was met with the exact same reaction, which is, no thank you, not interested.
Yeah.
But how many bridges can we burn in one small community? So D's on Main Street was the choice anyway. Ended up working fantastically.
We need to message them back
and say, absolutely.
Say, thank you. We are so happy to have been here.
Yeah.
You guys were great. We left them with a little souvenir.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they've noticed yet. One of our posters.
Yeah, we got to get into that because, boy, we're running tight on time already.
Yeah, this is
Oh yeah. By the way, we should say this is going to be an abbreviated episode.
Brief 60.
We're a little flamed out from yesterday.
Yeah, we basically did 3 episodes yesterday.
We really did. Now, what we should have done is just made kind of the acknowledgement to each other before getting in the car, hey,
don't
we got an episode tomorrow. Here's Apple Music on my phone. Whatever. Play what you want.
I'll put on my headphones.
Yeah, or whatever. We don't need to talk. Now, sure, would that have been
just driven separately?
Would that have been weird to?
Or I sit in the back seat,
yeah,
you sit in the front seat.
Would that have been weird to everyone else? Absolutely, but not everybody else has been constantly producing 2 hours of gold level entertainment on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So this one will be a bit abbreviated after yesterday, but we left. So one thing we hadn't mentioned, because you and I decided to do this on our own. A little bit of a lesser extent, but when we traveled to Boston, we brought World Tour shirts for everybody who joined us there and handed those out.
We did. Man, we brought them with us, didn't we?
Yeah.
Traveled 8 or 10 shirts or
only
something.
Thing in my backpack. was like
we
10
probably
t-shirts.
looked like such terrorists
Oh, there's
getting
no
on that
question.
plane because you had a backpack with 8 t-shirts,
Yeah.
and I had nothing. I didn't even bring a bag with me that
I had
day.
like a phone charger in my pocket.
Yeah.
And that was it. And so this time what we did was we had our friend Philip Art at PHILAPART on Twitter for all of your art needs design us a little mini tour poster. Again, we posted these pictures as well on our social media. You can check
Did you
them
post
out.
them to all? Because I saw
Probably
you.
not Instagram.
Okay.
I don't have that directly linked.
Okay.
But those we had some of those printed from his design, and they are beautiful, Steve.
Yes, they look like old concert posters,
Yeah.
which coincidentally, when we first sent Philip a message asking if he could do that, he said that's how I that's how he started.
Yeah.
He started by designing concert posters.
Yep. Crazy fortuitous turn of events there. So he designed it for us in a really, really quick turnaround. We had a bunch of them printed, brought them down to everybody's joy.
Joy, yeah, because while we were standing there looking at the billboard, we had left them in the car.
Yeah.
And so I ran over and I got them. I was like, oh, boy.
They're going to love these.
They are going to go nuts.
Yeah.
Took them out, had them in a little cardboard box, opened them up, showed them to everybody. Like everyone kind of leaned in, looked at them, and
I think part
leaned
of
back
it was
out.
Part
I
of
mean,
it-
they were probably just too excited.
Part of it's probably because you never really know in that situation. Like, are they going to ask us to pay for these things? Like, it's
I mean, obviously they're all going to want autographs,
right. Well, yeah, those were not optional. So
we did decide that autographs
mandatory.
were mandatory.
I'm surprised. Oh, can you just autograph it on the back? That'd be
No.
That'd be
No.
Nope. Which
Front
side of
and-
my face, top
front,
or bottom?
Yeah, front and center.
So
That's what you're getting.
So we handed those out, and Steve, you stuck one up on the wall. So if you're visiting Convoy or Van Wert, take a look. There should be a Steve and Kyle tour poster in the D's on Main Street side room. There's a Steve and Kyle podcast tour poster in Guaranteed Auto in Van Wert, Ohio. And there is a 2-year-old Steve and Kyle podcast sticker on the post where our billboard resides currently. So we are all over.
Did it actually stick?
We don't know.
I'm pretty sure
All
it fell
over-
off 1 second after we tried.
All over the middle of Ohio there, though, Steve, or sorry, the western portion of Ohio. So be sure to check us out there. But no, that was a fantastic showing.
Fantastic showing indeed. That pulling up to that billboard and seeing a crowd of people standing there cheering as we played Malt Shop Bop while driving up. That's worth it alone just to go back and look at our Twitter timeline from, what was that, May?
That was early April, actually. Steve.
Early April, okay.
If you wanted to check those out, and we can bump those up on our timeline, please do check those out. Absolute, for me, Steve, unbridled joy coming around the corner and seeing that billboard and seeing one person, let alone the 8 to 10 that had actually driven to this town in western Ohio to see our faces in a carpet store parking lot.
And then the whole after party when we went to
D's on Main.
D's on Main.
Convoy, Ohio, as well. It was a horribly fun day.
It was so much fun.
From not nerve-wracking, but you always have that fear that, well, this is going to be a dud, and who cares about me, and why am I interesting, to what it turned out to be was an afternoon filled with fun with some dedicated weirdos who drove many hours to see us there.
I remember driving back from that, and we just kind of, like, at one point just looked at each other. We were like, really? Did this, like, are we driving back from random town in Ohio where where our faces are on a billboard? It says Van Wert's #1 hometown podcast.
Yeah.
And people showed up to look at it.
Stupid.
Absolutely stupid.
That thing came down more than 6 months ago, and I guess now there's no better time than the present, Steve, to make the big announcement regarding the actual art from the billboard. So let's let everybody know.
All right, drum roll, please. We still don't have it.
It's still in Ohio, in Jay Stan's office or car. He might be working out of his car. It might be his office.
The billboard industry is tough these days. He hasn't had a sale since ours.
Yeah, he should
1 year ago.
He should be much more intuitive to what we need, considering we were his last sale, and it was for that dollar amount, he should be much more agreeable to when we ask him where our billboard is.
But again, you can go to stevenkyle.com/merch. You can see the T-shirt, the Memorial Van Wert T-shirt, available in the merch store, as well as a ton of other designs. We have so many new designs up there in the last year, so definitely check that out, stevenkyle.com/merch.
Yeah, and like we mentioned at the start, this is just part one. Too much funny this year for us to pack into one episode. Decided to split it up for a little easier on your ears this year. Stay tuned to your feeds later this week for part 2 of the Steve & Kyle Podcast 2019 Year in Review.
And now we warm our hands by the fire.
Man, you turn the thing off for a few minutes, or you let the wood kind of burn itself out, and you chill quickly in this frigid Michigan winter.
Yeah. Until next week, folks. Or at least until later on this week, folks. Enjoy.